Hello and welcome to the channel. In today's video, I am going to share how I was able to reinvent myself as a man in his 30s. And specifically, I'll be sharing the 4 things that I did that you can copy so that you can shift your identity. Now, if you are new to the channel, my name is George, and in 2022, I decided to up and leave the UK and move here to Bangkok, Thailand. And now I'm able to earn a full-time Western income, working part-time hours, living in Southeast Asia, doing work I love and find meaningful. I get to travel the world and experience new things, and I'm so grateful, but it wasn't always this way. Just a few short years ago, I was sleeping in my car, I was sleeping on couches, I had a 248 credit score, I was 25 grand in debt, and I was paying back £1 a month on a debt repayment scheme. I didn't go to university, I left school, I became a teaching assistant, and then I went into plumbing, I became a plumber's mate, I was working in construction sites, then I was working in gyms for minimum wage, then I did driving jobs, I did cleaning jobs, I did dry cleaning jobs. My life was a mess. But now, thankfully, my life is drastically different. And the reason that my life is drastically different is because I am drastically different. Okay, so here is exactly how I did it. And so the first thing that I did was I stopped making excuses, because I came to realize that I was exactly where I deserved to be in life. And this is a hard thing to sometimes accept. The life situation that we're in, that we might not be happy in, is exactly where we deserve to be. Now, when I was growing up, lots of well-intentioned people might say to me, "You're doing so well considering. You're doing so well considering this hardship that you had. You're doing so well considering this difficult thing you went through." And what they didn't realize was this was setting a limiting belief on what I was capable of achieving for my life. Now, what I eventually came to see was that if we have our faculties, if we have our sight, our sense of smell, our hearing, our ability to walk and move, if we have our basic faculties, we are blessed, we are gifted, we are lucky. Life owes us nothing more than that. It owes us nothing more than that. If we have that alone, we are blessed, we are lucky. So once I'd stopped making excuses for where I was in life, the next thing that I did was I started to reflect on my mortality. I started to come to terms with the fact that I was going to die. The difficult thing is, everybody we know and everybody we love is going to die. Now, there's a great book called The Denial of Death by a guy called Ernest Becker, and this book won the Pulitzer Prize. And it basically says that we as human beings, we have this sort of global and individual denial of death. We don't believe that we're actually going to die, because if we actually thought we were going to die, we wouldn't spend our days the way we're spending our days, doing the things that we're choosing to do. We don't really think we are going to die. Now, there's a great saying by Steve Jobs where he said something along the lines of, and I am paraphrasing, but he would look in the mirror in the morning and he would say, if today was his last day, would this be what he would choose to do with this day? And when the answer was no, too many days in a row, he knew he was doing the wrong thing. And when I started to reflect on my mortality and I started to accept that I was going to die, and I started to realize that each day was precious and I wasn't doing, if each day was my last day, rarely ever would that day be what I would want to be doing that day. If it was the last day I was going to live, this was the last day I was going to be alive, it was never what I would have wanted to do on my last day. And so ultimately what this gave me was, it gave me a sense of urgency. I started to realize you get one shot at life. You get one shot and one shot only. You don't get another go. You might believe in reincarnation, but you will not come back as you. You will come back in a different body, with a different mind, in a different set of circumstances. You will only be you this one time. And so I realized I really had to take aim. I really had to take aim, get a very clear vision for what I wanted, and then move towards that vision. And I started to really realize that the pain of regret would significantly outweigh the pain of failure. Now, the third thing that I did that allowed me to reinvent myself and shift my identity after I had stopped making excuses for where I was in my life and I came to terms and accepted my mortality was I started moving into the personal development space. Now, personal development gets a little bit of a bad rap from people who are trying to get clicks and views, but what more important a thing could there be to do than to develop yourself? Now, everybody's own personal development journey is going to be very different. Mine, I started off with listening to Tony Robbins. Pretty sure, I want to say it was a tape, might have been a CD. It was a CD, a Tony Robbins CD in my car what I'd listen to driving from London, like sort of greater northwest London over to Enfield a couple times a week. And that would be where my journey started. Then I eventually got recommended the book 6 Months to Six Figures by Peter Vu. I listened to Think and Grow Rich. Then I moved on to Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And my personal development journey sort of continued and snowballed from there. But of course, your journey is going to be different. Now, there are people on the scene now, like the Alex Hormozis of the world, that weren't around back then, and they're more business development than personal development. And for me, my journey ended up going in the direction of spirituality. So people like Ram Dass, Alan Watts, Ken Wilber, they became the people that I now turn to and recently turned to for more guidance in developing myself. But the point is, the books changed, the teachers changed, but the process of developing myself never stopped. That never changed. The process, the ongoing process and unfolding of developing and growing yourself, that never stops. And that never stopped for me. And it doesn't stop to this day. And something I like to remind myself of and come back to and anchor myself to is that the better I am, the better my life will be. And so the last thing that I did to reinvent myself and shift my identity was to get very clear on a vision for my future and then select an actual business model that would allow me to get there, to allow me to get to that vision. You know, we live in a capitalist, consumerist society, and money is the means of resource that we exchange for some form of assets or experiences. And it was very important for me to, one, get clear on the vision that I wanted for my life, but then secondly, how was I going to facilitate this? How was I going to financially pay for this lifestyle that I wanted? And it doesn't mean that I wanted, private jets and 4 Lambos and 12 bitches. It was none of this. For me, it was about I wanted freedom. And I still remember when I read the 4-Hour Work, I actually listened to the 4-Hour Work Week for the first time. And what Tim Ferriss did was he completely changed my view of what work was. I just viewed life as you go, you get a job, you work, you save up, you buy a house, you have a kid, you fucking die. And that was what I just thought life was. And this book just completely changed my worldview, and suddenly life became something that was it could be more exciting. Now, what's very important is if I didn't do the previous 3 steps, if I didn't stop making excuses for where I was in life, if I didn't reflect on my mortality and realize that life is a short and precious gift, and if I didn't get into personal development, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have had the bravery to dream of having a better life, because I wouldn't have thought that I was capable of actually living it. But once I'd done those 3 steps and I had decided that I had a vision for my future, I wanted a life of freedom. I wanted to be able to do work I love when I want to do it. I wanted to be able to travel the world and see new places, and I wanted to have freedom over my time. I wanted to go where I wanted, when the fuck I wanted. I decided to select a business model that would facilitate that lifestyle. I started with the end in mind, and that's something I always preach. Just want to interrupt this video very quickly to say, if you like this content, if you like travel content around Southeast Asia and you like the idea of earning money online, I just want to invite you to sign up to my weekly newsletter called Trippy Tuesdays, where every Tuesday I send actionable specific things you can do to create the life of your dreams. So if you dig that, click the link in the description or the pinned comment of this video, enter your details, and I'll see you in your inbox soon. And so for me, I ended up getting into e-commerce. I got into drop shipping, and I started off with some fitness brands, and I built like a few brands with different ambassadors and affiliates. Then I moved into some other different niches in the e-com space. Then I went into digital marketing agency. I essentially did landing pages and Google ads for different potential clients or prospective clients or actual clients. And that was my first 2 ways of making money online, going into e-commerce and everything that came with e-commerce. You had the Facebook ads, you had the building the Shopify, you had to find the products, hiring the VAs, and then eventually the marketing agency, which meant building outbound sales processes. It meant actually closing customers on a call. It meant delivering the services in terms of the landing pages and the ads, which is essentially lead generation. And they were the first 2 things. And then now I run remote marketing teams. And that was what I did when I came to Thailand. And that's what I do now. I run remote marketing teams. But it was very important to create that vision for the future of what you want. And then for me, as I said, my vision was freedom. I didn't want to be stuck in the UK. The UK was fucking cold and miserable and shit. I personally always dreamed about traveling to Southeast Asia and living in Southeast Asia, which is where I am now. And I'm only able to do that because I selected the business model that would allow me to facilitate this lifestyle and this vision for the future. So there you have it. They are the 4 things that I did that allowed me to reinvent myself as a man, in his 30s. Well, really, this process started when I was in my late 20s and is going on now. I'm 33 at the time of this recording. And as I look back, I can see that these 4 things: stop making excuses, the reflecting on my mortality and actually accepting that I was gonna fucking die, moving into personal development and overcoming my limiting beliefs, really believing that I was somebody who's capable of creating a life worth living. And then fourthly, actually getting a vision for the future. What was it? If I dared to dream, what would I want with my life? And then actually creating a business or selecting a business model or revenue model. You could of course have a job that would allow me to actualize that vision. Now, I'd hate for these videos to come off preachy or saying these are the things that you should do, because that is not my intention for these videos. That is not my aim and my goal for this channel. The goal for this channel, if I'm honest and I'm straight with you, is just to basically show you that you can do it. I am average in every sense of the word. I left school with 4.5 GCSEs. On the day we got our GCSEs, I had to go and do a test to get me to 5 so I could go in and go to 6th form. Then I left 6th form with 3 C's, right? It doesn't get any more average than that. I did essentially minimum wage jobs for 7-8 years after leaving 6th form. To the point where I literally couldn't survive to live. And that was why I got in £25,000 worth of debt. This is why I had a 248 credit score, paying off £1 a month. And so when I say that the goal for this channel is to show you that it is possible, it's because I am here living in Bangkok, Thailand. I've been here for 18 months. I earn a full-time Western income, working part-time hours, living in Southeast Asia. I love my life, but it wasn't always this way. And so the one thing that I just basically want to get across is that if you are watching this video, if you have watched this video to the end and you are still watching it right now, you are one of the few that's actually gonna, you've already committed a little bit of time into improving yourself and developing yourself. And for that, I congratulate you. And if this video just helps inspire and motivate one person to reinvent themselves, to shift their identity so that they can create a life that they live, then this would have been worth it. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope that there was a fair and open and honest exchange of value for time and you got something out of this video. If you did like this, please do think about subscribing to the channel. Obviously, we're still early days. We're still growing the channel. And I just want to invite you to watch the next video that's recommended here as well, because again, it touches on some things similar to this. And I think, well, I hope you get a ton of value out of that as well. But thank you so much for watching the video and stay real.